In this session, we are going to look at enhancing content marketing with AI. Now, for most of us, we produce content. It is as simple as that, whether it's for a personal perspective or on behalf of a brand. And for some of us, we produce a lot of content through various media, various channels, and various different styles of content to both build brand, encourage engagement, and potentially to try and sell product and service. So in this session, we are going to look at how we can become more efficient, more active, more scalable, and just more appropriate with the kinds of content marketing that we do with the support of artificial intelligence. Now, one of the things that really starts us off, rather than just jumping straight into your favorite AI tool, is to think about how you are going to have a communication, have a conversation, how to prompt engineer your AI. Now, what do we mean by prompt engineering? Well, it's about engineering the right kinds of prompts to brief and to control and to build a relationship with your artificial intelligence for the purposes of creating content or maybe curating content. In other words, drawing together content that other people have produced on a particular topic and maybe reviewing it, maybe providing added value over and above the baseline content that you are looking at and reading. So there are many, many different ways we can interpret content marketing here. But the key with using AI here is to focus on your prompts. So what is prompt engineering? Well, the definition could be crafting specific instructions for AI tools to achieve desired outcomes. There it is, crafting specific instructions. In other words, making a really clear brief for our AI tools. So the AI tools could be anything from ChatGPT to a specialist AI that is doing a particular role for you. And this is key here, to achieve desired outcomes. The content that you create or curate is just part of your content marketing. The desired outcomes are what then result from that content marketing. So to tell a prompt into an AI to explain that as being, can you write me a paragraph about topic X, or can you produce me an image for topic Y, is just really the tip of the iceberg. Because why are you doing this? Well, you're doing this for a particular purpose in a particular channel. So if you're doing that, well, why don't you then add that into the mix? And if you are looking for some very, very specific outcomes as a result of creating this content, well, why don't you brief that in too? Too many of us forget that that is actually the true value of prompt engineering, is the context. And I always like to think of this as my AIs are my assistants, almost like they're human assistants. They're not, they're AI, but if I treat them as though they're humans, then I'm going to give them a better briefing. It's like I have an intern who is there, all fired out, ready to help, but actually has no idea of the background, the context, the deeper story, the way we've done it before, the goals that we're looking to achieve, the kind of the overall vision, if you like, for this particular piece of content. So without that background, they can create content, but it's far less powerful. So the tips that we need for building an effective prompt is to be really specific. We need to include the tone, the style, and of course, the target audience, because without that, we're just creating generic content, and the AI will create some great generic content, but it won't be really impressive as it could be. We need to provide the context. Outlining the purpose and the objectives is so, so important, because otherwise, much like a human, how do you know the why you're being asked to do this? And you wouldn't want to be briefed with just the, can you do this? I'm not going to tell you why I need you to do it, but can you just do it? You wouldn't want to be briefed like that. Well, your AI tool doesn't either. And iterating, refining your prompts based on the output. So don't take the first version as the finished article, literally. Make sure that you're thinking constantly that if we go one step deeper, if I ask for it to be refined, if I go a little more deeply, if I go a little more obtuse, if I go a little more indirectly, or I provide feedback on that first draft and say it's great, but could we go a little bit less flowery, or could we go a little more scientific, or whatever it is that you need. Constant iteration, reiteration of the initial output from your AI is going to give you a much stronger final output. So I have an acronym for you called PROMPTS, PROMPTS. And this will be your checklist, or can be your checklist, for both creating but also curating really effective, really powerful, and really profitable content going forward. So the first P is for personas, the audience for the output. Being super clear who your audience is for this piece of content is critical for the AI to understand who they're writing for. The R is for research, the sources of information, the kind of quality of information they'd like to draw from, or you'd like the AI to draw from. The types of research, and also any exclusion, so things that you don't want included in the background information or data that this article is being based on. You have to be really specific, things you do want and things you don't want, the research to back it up. O in prompts acronym is for outputs. So this is ultimate SMART goal for the output. What is it you actually really want this article or this piece of content or this social media post to do? Be super targeted. Really smart goals will enable the AI to get really precise outputs for you. The M in the prompts acronym is models. So examples of similar outputs and maybe some background models, research or data that you know to be reliable. You know, without that kind of information, if you've got it, it's kind of almost sacrilege that you're not using it. So make sure if you've got some good stuff that you know has worked before, feed that in to the AI prompt, either as a PDF or a Word document or something similar, so that it's got that background model upon which it can base the output that you're asking it for. The second P in prompts is for preferences. P for preferences, the conversation to develop better and eventually best version of the outputs. So get into this, get into the conversation. And the more you do this, the more you build the threads. And I'm particularly in my head here thinking ChatGPT, which works very much on a threads basis. You get into that conversation thread, stay in the thread, because it will continually learn from the little nuances and the tone of voice and the style with which you communicate with it. It is very human-like in that regard, so don't forget that. The T in prompts acronym is the tone. So if you have a particular style, tone of voice, or brand guidelines, include those here, because you want to be writing in an appropriate and consistent way. Yes, your AI can be super flexible, but it can also be very well reined in so that the output you get is actually on message and on brand with the kind of brand that you've already established. And by telling the AI who it's meant to be writing as, you also give it more of a chance to be really kind of adding the value that it can, because it can be the scientific researcher, or it can be the chief exec, or it can write as whatever it is that you need it to write as. So for me, in my kind of marketing, I'd say write as a seriously qualified marketing professor who's very commercially minded. And of course, then it can have that super balance of content coming out in terms of thought leadership that actually really plays into the value that it can create. And it's so strong if you do this. So tell the AI who you'd like it to be in this particular instance. And the reason I use an S at the end of the word prompt to make it prompts is because the S stands for start. And this would be the starting point. Yes, you need to do all of those other 6 things. But if you also then start by asking the AI at the beginning, how can I brief you best? How can I brief you best is what you type into the AI prompt right at the beginning, that prompt bar where it says, well, ask me anything, is say, actually turn this around on its head and don't actually tell it what you're wanting to do. Say, look, well, how can I brief you best? What would you like to know from me? And I will guarantee you that some of these things in this prompts acronym will be included in that list, but your particular AI might also want to know some other stuff. So that's really important. Beginning with, how can I brief you best? gives it a chance to open up that conversation with you. And then you can do all of those other inputs to start this conversation flowing to get this best output. Now, why would we be wanting to do this? Well, I talked right at the beginning about potentially wanting to scale using AI because, of course, it can create a lot more content that you and I could. So there is an opportunity to scale here. But it's also about quality. It's not just about quantity and scheduling when you're not there and, getting a load more social media posts out. And yes, you can do that, but it is much more about balancing the scale and the quantity with the quality. So, briefing to support thought leadership, for example, will be a really important thing because thought leadership, mostly for most brands, they want to be seen as the thought leader on a particular topic or in a particular area. So, if you're going to be generating authoritative, engaging, and future focused content, then that is AI's role in thought leadership. So, tell it, say, I want you to be authoritative, I want you to be engaging, I want us to be together creating future focused content. So, the key elements of an AI brief would be positioning, first of all, define your unique perspective. Tell it what you as a human, either as you personally, if it's you as the thought leader or your brand, tell it what gives you a unique perspective, what makes you or your brand special. The voice, maintaining consistency in tone and style. You might want to go down a more scientific thought leadership angle, or you might want to go down, no, we're more creative and innovative. Whatever it is, maintaining that consistency in style and tone of voice is really, really important to do. So spell that out right up front. And also the kinds of topics. I mean, what sorts of things would you want to be identified for? So let it know the kinds of topics. Are you going to focus on trends, on insights, or on expertise? Thinking about this deeply before just jumping straight into telling the AI what to output is really important. The more you work collaboratively with your AI and share this conversation, it can then ask you, what else, would be interesting? Or what else could we work on? Or do you want this idea? I've got a really good idea about this. You'll be amazed what it will throw up that you possibly wouldn't have thought of. Now, of course, we're able to use this in a very creative way. So we can use this if we think about the rule of thirds, the content rule of thirds, where if you're balancing ideally for your audience, 1/3 of your content is personal and getting to know you, 1/3 is points, signposting interesting articles and information, and 1/3 is then promotion. That's the ideal balance for marketing communications content. So if we were thinking about how to brief our AI with personal, if we brief our AI with what we'd like to share about ourselves, that gives the AI a chance to really get under the skin of us and actually understand, well, okay, now I'm going to ask you for this because to get to know you, Neil, I need to know this about you. So it will get into the conversation with that. With the point P from personal point promote, this rule of thirds for briefing, the point P is about briefing your AI with examples of signposting content. If you're going to be signposting content to inform, to educate, or to entertain, then you need to give it some example signposted content because otherwise it's going to be making it up. The level of accuracy would be so much stronger if you give examples. And on the promote bit, brief your AI with your upcoming sales and promotion messages and calendar. And of course, with all of this in mind, be super clear about your call to action. If you have a keyword phrase or some other call to action that is consistently yours and you want to see it, tell it. Don't expect it to be able to second guess. Tell it what you want. Tell it what the call to action is. The briefing is everything in content marketing with AI. It really, really is. And so let's kind of think about this from a content curation perspective. I mean, content curation is trying to, with AI, automate the process of discovering, of organizing and sharing valuable content. So this can come into that point P in the rule of thirds. And of course, this will save us time and effort and energy. It'll make sure that our, sharing of information is relevant because the data is going to be more real time than if we have to go out there and do it, because often then that takes time and it goes out of date quickly. And also, it's going to ensure that our audiences are seeing an enhanced engagement because it's precise, because it's so much more targeted based around these really tight briefs. So if we're bringing content curation into our content strategy, in other words, we're reviewing, we're passing comment and judgment on other people's content to build value around that story, then AI can be doing the hard yards. It can be doing that background research. So we can be using a tool like Perplexity, for example, which would be my go-to here for trend, for algorithm, and for hashtag analysis. Trend analysis, monitoring industry movements and customer behaviors. Algorithm analysis, decoding platform priorities. And it really is, particularly in social media, platform by platform, and that will give us better content reach. And hashtag analysis, if we want to stay really aligned and putting our content out there, aligned and glued into trending topics, then we can do this in terms of identifying and optimizing the most high performing hashtags. We don't have to be making it up. We don't have to be using last month or last year's data or hashtags. We can be using Perplexity if we brief it right to being right at the forefront of almost live, almost real-time conversation and data. And then once we've done that, once we've got that background set, then we can start to think about, well, okay, which AI tools will this play out in? Because content creation means a whole different range of things for different people. I mean, if we're content writing, then to me, it would be ChatGPT as a starting point. Many others are available, as they are with all these examples I'm about to give you. But if we're using AI tools for content creation, then for writing, long form articles, short form posts, and complementary social content, to me, it's ChatGPT. Applying this engineering of prompts into ChatGPT is such a powerful way, and with its ability to search the web and its ability for you to add and put in there PDFs and Word documents of that background information, it's so key that you can actually do that in a way that really adds value. And content editing, once you've got that, you can take it out of ChatGPT and maybe use something like Hemingway Editor, which will ensure readability and concise communication. It'll ensure that you're grammatically correct. So you're not just writing for the Googles of this world, and you're not just writing hashtag stuff, but it's actually writing for your audience too. So Hemingway Editor is a great tool for content creation in terms of the editing facilities that you might need before you publish. If you're looking to be prompt engineering for image creation, then I'd be personally going to either Adobe Firefly, which uses the Adobe stock library footage to give you a whole host of really photorealistic options, or whatever it is that's in line with your brand guidelines, or something like Twitter, or X, now formerly Twitter, their AI background tool, which is called Grok, Grok, which, if you haven't used that, can give you some incredibly powerful, high quality, AI generated and customized visuals. Again, all based on the quality of your prompting. That's the key. And that theme follows true when it comes to video creation. I would always be going at the moment to Runway and InVideo, creating professional videos quickly and efficiently. But again, it's the depth of the brief. It's all in that prompt engineering that will give you those high quality outputs from the get-go. So if you're a little bit disappointed with the quality of some of the imagery or some of the video creation that you're seeing, it's not the AI, it's you. And yes, it genuinely is you. And I find this a lot of the time. If I spend this extra time in the initial brief, the outputs are off the charts. It has the capability. The limitation is not the tech or the platform. It is going to be you. And if you don't want those 5-fingered hands with the thumb in addition to make those 6 fingers, which obviously we're all still watching out for in videos and in imagery, then we've got to make sure we specify that. Little bit of a tongue-in-cheek dig there at some of the earlier versions of these tools. But if we want the outputs to be high quality, then the onus and the responsibility is on the briefing that we put in. It really is that simple. Other tools for content creation, if you're looking to get background music or a soundtrack, for me at the moment, it's Suno, S-U-N-O, which adds unique music tracks which will enhance any kind of multimedia project. And you can own that track, you can own that song, you can own that background. It again gives that whole level of personalization. But the more you put in, the more accurate the briefing, the better the output. And so that's a really interesting one to play with there. And bringing it all together, if you're looking then to do all of these things, but in line with maybe an ad campaign, so you're looking to create some digital banners or some digital advertising, then I would be looking either at Canva, which is now very, very strongly AI driven, or Pencil.ai, which is also a really interesting one to explore, which uses templates to design really impactful ad-based creative. But you can also use it for organic posts as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there to be really, really optimizing your time here within AI, not just creating a lot more, but creating a lot more efficient and effective posts. Now, for some of us, we'll be thinking about using AI within our content marketing for AI content scheduling. So tools like Socialbee and HubSpot will help you to plan, schedule, and manage your content across multiple platforms. So not only could you actually create that content through all of this content briefing that we've been talking about, but you can actually get it scheduled out there too. Now, that potentially is quite exciting and interesting, but do remember some platforms like Meta and TikTok do reward native posting. And of course, when the algorithms are rewarding you for being there to respond to inquiries and respond instantly to the engagement, and we know that the time-bound efficiency of actually that first couple of hours after the post has been actually posted is being critical for how successful that post is going to deliver value to you, then maybe you need to start thinking and questioning the value of scheduling through some of these platforms, because let's face it, particularly in social media, the clue is in the word social. If all you're doing is using AI for efficiency, maybe you're going to be missing out on some of those key things, which is about being present and about being social and about being the human behind the post. So don't get lazy. Don't assume that AI is here to take away your role as a human. Your customers engaging with the posts that you're putting out there are still wanting you as a human behind that post to answer their query, answer their question. Now, of course, you can, and this will be for another time, but you can put an AI in there to do exactly all of that. But for now, I don't think we have the nuances. I don't think we have the human intuition coming through in our AI assistants to be able to act as a genuine human there. So I would question the fact that we're using these AI content scheduling tools exclusively. There may well be, for some of your bigger ticket content posts, the opportunity for you to actually do this natively. Yes, by all means, use AI to create that content, but think about the when and the where, and actually the responses that potentially you're going to get if you're actually the human behind the posting too. And you'll see this play out in the final step in our process, which is using AI for content analysis and improvement. You will see that why content analysis matters is because you need the proof as to which way you're going to go in the future. And it will refine messages for better audience resonance. It'll identify areas for optimization. And of course, optimally, your higher return on investment of the effort you're putting in. So my key go-to tool for this one is MyGPT in ChatGPT, which is the data analyst tool. You can create one off your own back, because obviously ChatGPT has the option to create your own GPTs, but the data analyst tool created by OpenAI is really powerful. It'll give you insights on the performance metrics down to an individual content post or article level. And it'll make suggestions. This is where the real value comes in. It doesn't just tell you the numbers and which one performed best. It will make suggestions for improvement based on audience interaction, based on the real information that maybe you can't see as a human being. And that's one of the big, big values, really, of using AI to now analyze and go deeper into the performance of your content. So it really can enhance our content marketing from the initial content ideas through creation and publication, but also then at the back end of this process in content analysis and improvement. So bringing it all together to wrap up, it is about AI enhancing every single stage. Creation, it's efficient and creative content generation. Curation, it's delivering relevant and timely content to your audience. And analysis, ensuring continuous improvement in your content marketing to deliver optimal results. So your next 3 steps, I would suggest, is to experiment and play with some of these recommended tools. You may well find others that suit yourself and your brand and who you represent more effectively, but these are a good starting point. Experiment with these tools. Second point would be to develop a cohesive AI content strategy. Find the bits that you really need help with. Assess whether or not you need real time. Look at your measurement, look at your analysis, and decide where you're going to get best value, because that's where you're going to prioritize where you're using AI to start with. And then use the insights that you see to adapt and evolve your approach. This is all about small pilots, small little tests, practicing, watching, reflecting, and then adapting. It isn't just about creating loads more content. This is all about continuous learning so that when somebody challenges you, you can say, yeah, I've brought this all together in the most efficient, the most effective, the most timely, the most on-brand way to ultimately deliver the optimum return on investment of our content marketing. And in many ways, that is how you enhance content marketing with AI.